And we're live. Hi,
Yes.
Facebook. Hi, YouTube. Welcome to Left Unsupervised, which is Misbehaving. I am Nikki Jobin, and this is my lovely business partner.
I'm Diana Rachel. For those that might think I sound vaguely familiar, you've probably read various things I've written for Llewellyn since the year 2000 in various magical almanacs, or possibly seen my recent book, Urban Magic Guide for the City Witch. And I have a new book coming out titled Hex Twisting Counter Magic Spells for the Irritated Witch. So, yes, I am very much the irritable witch.
Today or every day?
Well, most days, but that involves dealing with people. So,
I had to double check. All right, I'm checking us. We are live on both of our Facebooks. You might be watching us on Golden Apple Metaphysical page, Facebook, Nikki Jobin Facebook. You might be watching us on YouTube. All comments are welcome.
So, hi. What we decided is we're trying to help people get to know us a little bit. So, for folks that follow our Instagram or our Facebook page, you've been seeing a lot more personal posts from me and Nikki as we talk about our personal stories and how we got where we are. And so, we wanted to open up the floor to any questions people have for us, where we come from, what our outlook is, what our personal philosophy is, and we wanted to talk about why we're doing what we're doing and why we're choosing to do those things the way we are.
I do have one disclaimer. We are pretty much open spell books. So, don't ask a question that you don't really want the answer to.
Because we will tell you, even if it is graphic and scatological.
It's my favorite.
Yeah. So, yes. So, and, my answer will probably confuse you. And I am told by other adults that they still need a dictionary to talk to me. I'm very sorry, but most of those are cuss words. It's like Big Latin. You'll figure it out.
Mhm. And I might scandalize you more than a little bit. That's always the fun.
I know you like to try it.
Let's see. What was our first question? I guess let's start at the beginning. We definitely have talked about on the Instagram how we met.
Yeah.
Diana had started the group, the Emperor Norton Magical People Social of San Francisco, and I think was I the very first person to walk into the meetup?
You were literally the first one. Yeah, you were literally the first person. You sat down, and then Michael came in. Michael is a druid elder. I guess he actually has some cachet with that group,
Hmm.
but was a San Francisco lifer, and he just absolutely loved that group. He still keeps in touch with me.
Hmm.
So it was basically Nikki and then this elderly, lovely druid man, and then our resident Catholic.
Hmm. Okay.
It was quite the mix.
Yeah. It was definitely those quiet times, but we slowly grew. Now we're doing Zoom meetings with everyone that makes the Zoom meeting. We
Hmm.
have another one coming up next month. We'll talk more about that later. But then, Diana and we became friends really quickly, I think, which was a little bit more surprising for both of us.
Yeah, because I tend to be very picky about who I let close.
And she,
So
I slipped through that door.
yeah, yeah, I just left Minneapolis. I had a slot for some crazy.
I
Um,
know, and there I was.
but I have I actually do have a lot of social anxiety, but I come from a theater family, so my way of dealing with it and getting social needs met was to organize things so this way I could keep a little distance from everyone while still actually being around people on my own terms. And obviously, I've been working through this a little bit, and I'm a teacher. I'm a writer and a teacher. That's just part of the deal to some extent. But yeah, Nikki and because I started that group in April, and my 40th birthday was that August. And
Mhm.
so I didn't know anybody, so I tracked you down to Via Mita to invite you because, all my friends in Minneapolis were not going to be flying out to San Francisco for me.
Yeah,
Like the plan A, like my original 40th birthday plan had been to rent a theater in Minneapolis and play a Daria marathon.
nice.
Instead, I had a beach fire.
Mhm. And
So
we had a lot of fun.
yeah, and I actually think I feel like I bookmarked because I just passed my 45th birthday,
Mhm.
and despite the pandemic, I think it's one of the best parties I've had. because it was kind of bookmarked with me leaving because we have the party in Stern Grove and the police aren't
Mhm.
policing not essential stuff right now. So we were able to stay out after dark on a beautiful night in Stern Grove
Mhm.
having this big picnic, and it was kind of wonderful.
Yeah.
Like almost, except for you, it's almost completely different people in my life now.
Yeah.
Like almost entirely, but like all of them are keepers now. So,
Mhm. Yeah, we have definitely come a what's that phrase? You've come a long way, baby.
or
Um,
I kind of go with what's his name, and it's been a long, strange trip.
fair enough. Fair enough. But yeah, we had those first meetings, and some people came and stayed, some people left, other people that had come and stayed have relocated
Hmm.
now. But I find that we always get a really good eclectic group.
We do, and I've tried to cultivate that as much as I can by making it very clear that we don't like the Emperor Norton group explicitly doesn't teach a specific tradition.
Hmm.
What I have said about myself for a long time is I'm a mad scientist. So it's all about the innovation and finding. I care more about what works than what a tradition says or who says I'm allowed to do it. Because if I am figuring it out on my own, you can't appropriate things you figure out for yourself. You
Fair
just
enough.
can't.
Fair enough. And I am, I've always been like, a solitary, like hedge witch, kitchen witch, just kind of throwing things together, working with whoever, deity wise will work with me.
Hmm.
Um, Never really felt inclined to be a part of the group thing. I mean, we've done some rituals since then, and they may or may not have had people with us,
Yeah,
but it's a more of a comfort level for me because it's not heavy ritual, which very much reminds me of my Catholic background and doesn't agree with me.
yeah. And I very much enjoy spells and rituals, but I almost became a Christian pastor, and church is boring. It's just boring. This is one of the frustrations I had recently because there's a lot of pagans coming up now who've never had the church experience, or they had the Catholic experience, but not the Protestant experience. And the Protestant experience was if it's pretty or in any way excites the senses at all, it might make you have sex, so it needs to go.
Well, we've bypassed that barrier, that's for sure.
The Catholics revoked birth control for a reason. It's a way to keep asses in the pews. So,
I don't know what the hell I was going to say to that. I had a thought and I lost it now. But so, here we go. We're bumping along. We're doing little rituals here and there, finding out interesting things about each other. Um,
and finding and pushing boundaries for each other a lot.
mhm.
There's a lot of things I never would have considered working with my first few years there.
Yeah,
That
and I think I'm the first person. I have coined the phrase: if you work with Diana, you're gonna get a power boost, and you're gonna find out shit about yourself that maybe you didn't want to know.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, it's been kind of a crazy ride. And then one day we were talking and we'd mentioned that we both wanted to open a metaphysical shop.
Yeah, I remember that. And I remember going, okay. And I remember thinking, yeah, probably not. So, but I was doing a reading for you
Hmm.
because you were having boy problems, which is always why you want a reading from me when you get one.
The new one,
um,
well, not the new ones, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, you've been your picker's been improving too. It's been a
Mhm.
sharpening process. And you just have more stuff that works itself out. You're a Pisces. You have a different ride than the rest of us.
And it's
But
a fun ride.
yeah, I have to remind you that we are not on that ride with you.
There. There.
But um, I was kind of like, this is a friend. I had tried to start an occult shop with friends before, and it always ended badly. I did a reading, and it was like, no, this is a really good idea. This will cover a lot of bases you don't expect to have covered.
Hmm.
Of course, we did not realize the kind of bases that were actually going to be covered had nothing to do with business.
Yes.
So it had more to do with our spiritual development. And the shop is really ultimately an expression of that,
Hmm.
and like, I have been so mired in getting to the next day for so many years that, even my dreams are for which they are bizarrely prosaic. You know what most people's, most wish fulfillment is you have $1 million or you finally get to have sex with that celebrity. Mine is waking up and realizing there's nothing to add to my to-do list.
Fair. I don't think I actually have those $1 million dreams or getting to have sex with a celebrity, because let's be honest, they get to have sex with me. Um,
Let me go
but
there.
um, but honestly, I think in all my dreams, I'm searching for something. Like I'm looking for something somewhere, someone or something.
Yeah.
Um, and I think finding the Emperor Norton group, it made me realize that even as someone that is not tradition bound and a little bit more of a hedge witch, it's nice to have a feeling of community. It's nice to have a group of people that I can come to and say, hey, I have this going on, what are your thoughts?
And one of the reasons that it appealed to me because I have done the Wiccan initiation thing twice. So I had third degree in two different traditions, one we don't really talk about anymore. And I was invited to initiate into 1734, which is a lesser known traditional witchcraft form. And what I realized for me is that that kind of tradition lineage was too much control for me.
Mhm.
There were too many people having a say in even how I practiced behind closed doors for myself. And I didn't like it. It didn't fit me. It was like, I'm a plus size woman and I know exactly how much bullshit one size fits all actually is.
Mhm.
It may fit it may fit everyone who's 5'3" and has and has a 38-inch waist, but the rest of us are kind of screwed. Um, and it was this realization that yes, there was wisdom there, and I am an information junkie. I am a learning junkie. The intellectual side of witchcraft is a big part of my passion, but in terms of where my emotions were, where my gut was, where my primal need to dance is, it didn't fit.
Mhm.
It didn't fit. I mean, I had one friend who tried to go through one coven with me point out that, these women have no sense of humor, and your sense of humor is one of the things that defines you. If I can't laugh when something is stupid, or if I can't go, okay, there's a difference between privacy policy and being a controlling dipshit. Yeah,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
yeah. And so, starting the Emperor Norton group was my answer to that social need. And yeah, it was a little bit of a rebellion against that system.
Mhm. And then expanding it into a shop, we really had to think about, why are we doing this? Because let's be honest, nobody's going to become a millionaire really running an occult shop. I mean, it's very, very rare. I mean, I can think of maybe one person, but
There's
um,
like two guys that have ever done it.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so really, that's not something that you should be looking for. Monetary excess is not something you should be looking for if you're running any kind of metaphysical bookstore, or store in general. But why were we doing this? Yes, we have a sense of community for people, and an outreach, and the exchange of ideas. You can be from two completely different traditions. You can be left hand path and you can be a Wiccan, and you can still meet in our space and have a great conversation where maybe you don't agree, but you don't have to be at each other's throats either.
And, a Satanist may have better ideas for handling your spirit work. A lot of Wicca is still entity work. You're just working with deities. But we don't call it entity work. We don't call it evocation. But for Wicca, it's in that wheelhouse.
Mhm.
And talking to a theistic Satanist who works with demons, who happens to go, okay, you still need to find out what they like. I remember the line from the movie She's All That, find out what she likes, find out what she enjoys, get to know her.
Yeah.
And I've seen theistic Satanists do a much better job with that than Wiccans, who just look down the list in the appendix of a book instead of going further and finding out further details.
Mhm. It is. It's interesting working with some of the things that we've worked with. Um, I can definitely say I don't think anything that we've done together, worked together, has been dull. Uh,
No, No, but there's a reason that a lot of people are reassured by the fire extinguisher in the background here. So, yeah.
I only tried to set your garage on fire once.
Well, we're not counting all the times I tried to do it myself.
Yeah, I will speak for me. And only had Jennifer there when we tried to set the backyard on fire.
I mean, there is a reason that we kept inviting my firefighter friend over.
You know?
And
Um,
she was pretty good about trying to make sure, but wow, she really likes to set fires too.
yeah, yeah. But she's great with making sure that they don't get out of control.
Yeah,
So we were talking earlier today in our business meeting, and we were, I had inquired because Golden Apple is definitely more your name than mine, but I really
yeah,
liked it.
yeah.
And so, w- what inspired Golden Apple?
So Golden Apple came about because this is something, starting a metaphysical shop is something I've wanted to do since my 20s.
Mhm,
First, because I love all things occult. I'm endlessly like this is my passion. This is my life's passion. And at the time I had a working partner who was Discordian. And so he and I had talked, and I'd already had a falling out with someone that wanted to do a shop with me, and then it didn't work out. And he and I had started working towards it, and then life happened. I think he moved to Las Vegas or something, and my ex-husband was not such a fan of that relationship or that plan, so it kind of all got set aside. But because he was Discordian, Eris and the Golden Apple is a big thing.
mhm,
And so for those that know the story is she didn't get invited to a wedding. So she decided to find a way to invite herself and threw down an apple that had a golden apple that had etched in the side for the fairest. And Hera and Aphrodite and Athena all got in a fight over it. A little surprised at Athena. I guess even she has her moments of vanity too. And the golden apple over the years has been a symbol that's kind of followed me in different ways. I can't remember the specific name because it shows up in a lot of Greek myths and in Slavic myths and in fairy tale witchcrafts. So it's not just a one-time Greek thing. The golden apple has its own loaded meaning. And one of these days I will probably find out like what it actually is aside from that rare prize that people stop for.
mhm,
And again, I think that if I'd actually been allowed to just do whatever the hell I wanted as when I grew up, I probably would have been a folklorist. So this is where this nerding comes from. But one of the stories I identified with because my actual name is Diana, and I was named for the not for the Roman goddess, but it was my parents thought naming me Artemis would be a little too weird. But I have always had a lot of Artemis tendencies, especially despite being extremely good at the domestics, I'm really not fond of marriage in its current forms.
mhm,
And my mom, especially, was always trying to push me to get married or be more traditional or be more femme. And I am perfectly femme without being her kind of fucking femme. And one of the stories that really appealed to me because there was so much pressure to basically sell off your identity into the Mrs. bullshit that I really started liking these myths about Artemis and these other Amazonian women where there was like one story about a princess, a Greek princess or Theban or something, but she was a runner. And so her father couldn't get her to agree to marry any of the guys that were after her. So she finally said, "Fine, whoever can beat me in a foot race, I'll marry." And none of them could. Most of them like pulled something or pulled their groin or whatever. And one guy decided finally to just pace her and throw down a golden apple. And she stopped and picked up the golden apple because it was in her path. And that was the only way she lost the race and ended up married to him. And that story kind of appealed to me because it was just in a way, it respected what she was capable of. And even though it resorted to trickery, it was at least something where there was some expectation of equality in a way that where I grew up, there wasn't that expectation of equality, and that always appealed to me.
mhm,
And then later on in more recent years, as I've started delving more into the folkloric side of my ancestry, and especially with my relationship to the Polish god Perun, is Perun had a story about, and of course it's Perun, it's weapons, and the underworld god Vela is always stealing his wives and daughters until one of the daughters stole Velas, and that's a whole other story. But there was this thing where, as one of the early acts of war, is Perun turned the golden apple into a grenade. So it was the first grenade.
Okay.
Uh, this clearly did not get communicated to the Polish militia, but most of them were farmers, and keeping grenades around horses is a bad idea. So, like, there's just this long thing about the apple itself being this. And if you know how apples are constructed, there is like you'd have to eat a whole lot of them, but apple seeds contain cyanide. So it's this good, healthful, life-giving thing, but the very seeds of it are poison.
Hmm.
So it's this weird working with both hands symbol. And especially as my own practice has evolved and I've become more of a work with both hands, it's just started speaking to me more as the more I understand about how all of this works, even on a biological level. It's just the apple makes sense. And I like the gold because it does represent abundance and prosperity and things that are prized, but it also represents the side of that that can be tricky.
Hmm. And apples in general have been featured throughout folklore and tales for centuries. To being, if you go back to Bible times, the original forbidden fruit, indicating knowledge. And I think that that's really what we do here. We are not daunted by the fact that getting the knowledge might be a long and tedious process.
Yeah,
We
especially
end up going, yeah, we end up going down these paths that are very, very different. And we look at the world through a filter
yeah,
that causes us just to maybe catch details and things that other people don't necessarily see. And one of the things that I like about the group is because we do have different people with different paths and traditions, you get such a more well-rounded education by just talking to people about how they execute their practices.
yeah. And it's been really cool. And I think like some of my favorite people coming to the group is like we have a mortician who's one of our regulars, and they always have the most interesting stories. Um,
Hashtag best job ever.
yeah, we have a friend who is a rabbinical student, so he's still kind of growing into it, but he brings some really interesting perspectives.
Absolutely.
It, especially a hippie rabbi, that is not what I would have thought of. So,
Like,
we have our resident demonologist who likes his grimoires. He doesn't come around very much because he's usually working or so.
my
Uh,
my brain is
he checks in with you more than he checks in with me.
oh, I was like,
Yeah,
why can't I think of who this is? And now I know, yes, who it
yeah,
is. We
yeah,
are omitting names just because we have not gotten consent to give out anyone's name. So
yeah,
consent is also very, very important for
yeah,
Emperor Norton.
yeah. And just like a broad variety of people, and I'm allowed to give this name out, but my partner Tom comes and goes, and they are an acupuncturist and traditional Chinese medicine practitioner,
Mhm.
and very, very good. If you're looking for someone, they are doing on call because they have my old car to do this now. So, just send us a ping and I can send you their way.
Yeah,
And they're
occasionally,
yeah, they're very good and non-judgmental, but they bring interesting perspectives.
mhm.
Occasionally, adult and disturbing perspectives. There was the whole kitten play incident, but
I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I've decided if it even sounds like I don't want to know, I don't want to know.
yeah, yeah,
Occasionally we'll get my partner, and I can say his name, my partner James, and he is with the ADF. And that's always an interesting perspective. It's always interesting to go to their rituals. I've experienced things there that I'd never experienced before. Um, and now that I know how to I don't want to say fend off because that sounds like their shining ones were attacking, and they weren't. They just happened to find me interesting, and I didn't know how to deal with that, so I didn't know how to protect myself. So I know how
yeah.
to shield myself better when
Mhm.
I'm there with them, which is immensely valuable knowledge because I didn't realize before that I would ever have to do that.
Yeah, well, and talking to spirits to some degree, like you would with people's like, hey, could you dial it down a little bit? That hurts.
Yeah.
And that's just something that people don't necessarily get taught because I understand there is a certain wonder and joy in being in awe of something.
Mhm.
And sometimes I miss that. At the same time, that can sometimes give a power dynamic that doesn't need to be there.
I don't know that I was
So,
in awe, but we definitely worked out a I can give whiskey instead of blood scenario, which works for me.
well, and probably saves you some blood, which you might still be using. Hey. So going into this is a big part of our discussion is talking about, especially as we're doing the telling our story on Instagram right now, is why we're doing what we're doing and talking about the why of Emperor Norton was to get that variety and, my background and why we want to do Golden Apple. And so I know that, Nikki used to joke about the Wiccan Walmart. I think that it's a little different for you now.
I
So
still think a
so
Wiccan Walmart would be cool. Just well, maybe not Wiccan, but like a
yeah,
like if you'd ever I know that they were gone before you came to San Francisco. There was a store called the Psychic Eye, and I believe that they still have them in LA. Amazing. Like it was just, you picture in your mind what you would love an occult shop to look like. And they were that store from the entire huge section of herbs to, a suit of armor to books everywhere, crystals, just, I mean, anything that you could imagine to think of, I think that you could find it there. I have a thought. I don't know for sure that maybe incantations in New York is probably, in my imagination, maybe it's cool like that. But I
it's really tiny. I've been. It is really tiny, but it has wonderful service.
mhm. In New York,
So, yeah, it's more like, have you ever been in Candlelight Shop in the Mission?
no.
Okay, so Candlelight Shop is a very traditional botanica in that everything is behind glass cases. You don't touch anything unless you're handed it. And it's more about hiring the witchcraft than doing it yourself.
Mm,
So when you go into incantations in New York, you're going in for the extremely premium, high quality candle service. And I do want to add that if you can get your hands on a copy of The Enchanted Candle, I think it's on Lulu now because it went to private press.
mhm,
Had the pleasure of meeting Lady Rhea in 2019, and she is phenomenal.
mhm.
And that is hands down the single best book in candle magic I have ever read.
Yeah. There are a lot of good, there are a lot of great shops still out there. I mean, you work with Elements in Kalamazoo. That's a
Mhm.
fantastic shop. We've, met, well, I've met them, you know them a little bit better. The owner of Serpents, is it Serpent's Kiss?
Yeah, Serpent's Kiss. I would like to get to know them better. I was supposed
Yeah.
to take a trip down there to teach some classes, and the pandemic happened.
That's down in
But
Santa Cruz.
yeah, down in Santa Cruz, they
Yeah.
have amazing stuff.
Yeah, I haven't been to their shop, but I've been to their booth at PantheaCon and incredible stuff. And when I had a question about a statue that I was looking for, they didn't have it, but they had really great information for me to try and help me find it. So incredibly helpful. And one of the things that we would like to promote with Golden Apple is the fact that there's a place for everyone at the table. We
Yeah,
we won't ever feel like we're in competition with any of these stores because everyone has something to offer.
yeah, very much so. And there's different people that are experts at different aspects of what they do.
Mhm,
I want to add is I bought some Beat Them Off with a Stick oil, and whoever does the oil blending for Serpent's Kiss,
mhm,
one, I should have phrased my intent better because I got some crazy on Tinder that is unparalleled. But damn, that stuff works and it works fast.
mhm.
Like whoever does the oils, they know what they're doing and they are good.
Yeah. And so many shops you see just that level of skill and knowledge, which is incredible. And I see these other shops there, and I'm definitely in awe of the things that other people are doing, and I'm inspired for the things that we're creating for Golden Apple because I know that quality of work is out there, and that's something that I definitely aspire to with our products as well.
Very much so. I know I'm coming from, I just like making cool magical stuff.
Mhm,
I just like making cool shit. And I like making things that I haven't seen elsewhere if I can. So, we are doing some baseline, like we have the Sabbath kits and the spell kits, and we have things that are in development. I know my smoke oil, I have to reformulate it because I can't ship hemp, I can't ship marijuana products across state lines.
mhm.
So my private share in Michigan, marijuana is legal, as well as California, but it's not federally, so I can't ship it the way I have it made.
Mhm.
But I have this oil that I make that strips entity attachments off of you. That is an unusual thing that most people have not thought to make.
When you don't have a Nikki available.
Yeah, pretty much. So normally, well, and this was something is because you needed some time to recover from some things. So Nikki how would you like me to describe this?
Have we come up with the term? I think Sin Eater was the closest, even though that's still very imprecise.
Sin eating seems to be kind of imprecise, and we're still kind of digging through. I think we're gonna have to dig into some. I know that there's a lot of Welsh lore about it, but we're gonna have to dig into some Appalachian lore.
A metaphysical dustbuster? I don't know. Um,
Yeah, basically, Nikki can consume negative energy with relatively little ill effect. I'm not going to say no,
yeah,
but relatively little ill effects, and um,
for
it's a
a longer time, I think than other people that I have
yeah,
met.
yeah,
Yeah. For what was the longest? I think we went. Um, Honestly, it was that first PantheaCon that we were at. I think I went 3 whole days,
yeah,
just kind of pulling things and not realizing, really that it wasn't a conscious thing. It was just,
mhm,
I have this desire to help people, and it kind of comes out in that.
yeah.
Um, so I don't know if like I
Well,
list myself as an energy worker, like a dark energy worker.
yeah, like you step into people's negativity.
Hmm.
And for me, I am more of I wouldn't say I bring light in, I do, but it's more that I make people more aware of themselves. So, but yeah, what Nikki does, like one of the reasons I made the smoke oil is Nikki needed some rest because I get myself in some very creative trouble. And Nikki has been my backup for most of my very creative trouble. And so she has had to pull things out of me that sometimes do damage to both of us. And I am on an extreme that most people will fortunately never experience in their lives because you have to be as smart as I am to be as dumb as I am. That's just all it is.
It's well, and I know that now you and I are energetically connected,
We very
and
much
there
are.
were times. I think when you first were having COVID,
Yeah,
I didn't know that you had it, and I don't think at that point you knew that you had it either. You hadn't been tested yet. But
yeah,
I woke up feeling all these weird. I wasn't sick, but I was dizzy. I had heartburn, and I was experiencing a lot of the symptoms that you were having, not
yeah,
knowing you hadn't spoken until the
yeah,
next morning.
yeah.
And
Because when my nesting partner got it, well, he's with the shop. They're with the shop, so when Cindy got it, we didn't think that they had it.
mhm,
We thought it was one of the other bugs that's been going around. And so, like, we even told our kids it's probably not, but we need to rule it out. And they got a rapid test, the up the nose horrible thing. And because my insurance has changed because I'm straddling state lines and my California insurance won't cover me while I'm wintering here. Um, so we had to go and get mine through Walgreens, and they were already so backed up. It took me 5 to 7 days to get the test, and by that time, I freaking knew I had COVID.
yeah.
But you were experiencing it with me. I think other people that were in, there's more than one person that like monitors my dumb ass because I'm like just always about to step in a powder keg. um, and so, like, I checked in everyone that I know for sure is connected to me, and there were multiple people experiencing symptoms, like it was getting spread
Mhm.
out, which I'm grateful for because it means I was able to keep enough of my head about me to get up and make the medicine we needed to keep it out of our lungs.
Mhm. Uh,
And and we weren't going to get traditional medical treatment, I may be in a high risk group, but we couldn't put me in a hospital.
yeah.
So,
Other examples of what I've kind of done is when we were able to, before pre-pandemic, when we were still meeting with the group,
yeah,
um, people's energy was kind of wonky. We just, sit for a little session, and it always amazes me the physical things that people feel when I'm doing this,
yeah,
and not realizing that what I was feeling, I mean, you always
mhm,
feel what you're feeling, but you never think that somebody else is going to be feeling the same thing. Like
Yeah.
I feel sometimes a cool rush of wind when I do it, and people that had never done it before were telling me what they were feeling, and it was the same thing that I was feeling and just not talking about. So it was incredible just to see that actual, that connection there.
Yeah.
Um, and at this point, I'm just going to break off of this for a second because we do have a couple people watching. We have someone watching on the Golden Apple Metaphysical Facebook page, two on my personal page, and we would love your questions. Please feel free to post questions in the chat if you have questions about any of the metaphysics we're doing, anything about the shop, anything about Diana and myself. I mean, if something gets too personal, we may or may not answer, and I hope people are okay with that. You're going to have to be okay with it, but we're pretty much open books, I think.
Yeah. So please ask whatever you like.
Mhm.
There's very few things. There are a few things where I will try to call your mother, but for the most part, it should be fine.
I
I
don't know
do.
your mother. I'm okay.
There we go. I do know, like I remember there's one time when I had you with for a client that had needed a house cleansing, and
Yes,
remember with the fire, like it scared
yes.
her so badly.
It's scary. And so here's the thing: when I'm doing this for people, I don't explain what I'm using, how I'm visualizing pulling it away. And with this particular client, I was experimenting with burning it away rather than sucking it out like I do. It sounds very odd, but these are the things that I envision. And
Hmm.
I said nothing to her, but the fire image was what I was using, and she freaked out because she got an image of fire in her head, and I didn't know that someone could do that.
Well, and apparently she had some fire trauma, which did not help the situation, but
It didn't.
that was very much part of it.
But it was kind of awesome.
Yeah. Aside from having to calm down the scared client.
Yeah.
But she gave me a good review later. It was fine. It was just
Mhm.
that was an odd one, but that was kind of a precursor of a lot of odd that started happening more too.
Mhm.
So I think the lesson to that is even angels can be a bad idea in the wrong context.
Yeah. Angels are dicks. But
Most of the time, yeah. Yeah, we are. Yeah.
um, and our little relationship is, yes, Diana is definitely what would be considered traditionally the good side of the spectrum, and I am more on what is considered maybe the darker side of the spectrum, though I don't consider it dark. I just consider myself more. I consider both of us a little bit more well-rounded. Like I'm not
I think
afraid to put
so.
my hand, quote
I mean,
unquote.
you're more lawfully evil. I'm way more likely to run a stop sign than you. And
This is
I'm
true.
I'm more neutral good to neutral depending on how pissed off I am.
Yeah. You know,
So
what is that? The Wiccan read is, and it harm none, do what you will. I try not to harm anybody, but I will cut a bitch. Don't think that I will not mess you up if you cross the line, because I no hesitation.
I won't hurt you without provocation, but if you provoke me, I'll hurt you.
Yeah. So I'm
That's a
I'm
good one.
more likely to stab someone than hex them.
There is that. There was the time that I went to Cat Club. The bouncer looked me up and down and said, "Please get us before you stab someone."
Yeah.
Like that was actually what was said to me. Like apparently I have that look.
Yeah, but you would probably be more likely to hex somebody. I'm like, it would just be so much easier to stab them and dump the body because hexing is a lot of work.
Hexing doesn't leave evidence.
I know how not to leave evidence. That's not an issue.
Yeah, but
Raise
this leaves
raise
evidence.
like chemicals.
It's a lot easier to like move a bunch of herbs and charred animal bits than it is an entire body. Just
Pigs,
saying.
man, pigs. I still like the pig
Just
idea.
saying. But I also was driving a smart car, so I had that disadvantage too.
Yeah.
You have a pickup. That's different. So
Um, by the way, this is all hypothetical. If anyone in law enforcement happens to be watching, these things are all hypothetical.
this is entirely theoretical, and I assure you I don't hex first. So if you're thinking I have, I assure you you're not that important.
Fair enough, because again, saving the spoons.
Yeah, pretty much. I have shit to do. I have Nikki and I have a community to build. I have art I want to make. I can hex your ass or make some art.
Right?
I like crayons, not you.
Yeah.
So,
But if you're worried that we might have hexed you, ask yourself what you did because it's not happening without some provocation.
yeah, because honestly, I can barely find my glasses most mornings. Do you know how long it's going to take me to find the stuff I need to make a wax doll?
Right? And here I am thinking, if I like you, you'll know. If I don't, you'll know. I might not tell you to your face that I think you're a complete and utter dick, but you'll know that I'm thinking it.
Oh no, I've told people to their faces I think they're a dick and they've made a bad impression on me.
Well, there are some situations that you just cannot say that to people. I work with the
Mhm.
public. Sometimes you just have to.
No, this was somebody who was very impressed with themselves and it got annoying to a lot of people.
No,
Hmm.
no, I don't. And if I am not in a work environment, I do not suffer fools gladly. But
I'm self-employed for a reason.
yes, fair enough. I get my money from the man.
I mean, it depends on the man, but
That's not how I get my money. Please, please. I'm the first one to say if California legalized prostitution, I would open up a bordello.
I honestly think it should, but that's just my opinion.
State
So,
mandate it. Make sure everyone's tested. Keep it clean, folks.
Amsterdam does a really good job with that.
Hmm.
Really fantastic job.
Yeah. So if you are
That's
one of the two people watching and you have questions about magic, bordellos,
or what in the hell we're talking about now.
ah, gotta love it. Gotta
If you
love
need any spell coaching,
it. Mhm.
so yeah, I
Christine, I
mean,
know you're watching. Type something in there.
so why don't you tell me? I don't think you've ever really told me why do you want to do this? Why do you want to do Golden Apple?
I I have always had a huge need to help people. My sword tattoo has the
Hmm.
Celtic ongum that says service, and that's an enormous thing to me. And I don't have the temperament for politics or for being a teacher. There are so many ways I see that people make amazing strides in helping people, and I'm just not very well suited to doing that. What I've come to learn, and especially in the last 5 years with you, is that energetically, I do have a gift to help people.
Yeah,
And, I always kind of like the idea of owning a little shop and just, giving people advice on things or maybe helping them with, candles and things like that. But now I have a bona fide talent that I can help them with. And being able to have a community through a shop is really, best case scenario. I love connecting with people and being able to help them in that manner. And, I mean, I'm not going to be a millionaire, but making a little bit of money at the same time, isn't the worst idea.
I'm not going to rule that out because I'm me, but it's I think that yeah, okay, and yeah, this is one of the things that I used to tell people about what I did because my own practice has evolved so strangely
Hmm.
is that one of the things that witches and shamans do is we fill in the cracks that sorry my dog is being a brat we fill in the cracks that society can't quite cover.
Hmm.
And one of the things I used to talk about when I was in Minneapolis, because everything was very backdoor, most of the Wiccan traditions didn't know about me. I was just kind of this undercover person after I quit working with Pagan Pride. And what kind of came about because most of the people that came to me weren't pagan. And a lot of them define themselves as agnostics or atheists.
Hmm.
And so we'd say even an atheist can have spiritual needs. It's just that they don't want a whole lot of religion with it.
Hmm.
And, atheist is just non belief. I don't necessarily know what they do or don't believe in. I know it's just that they don't believe, but how long that list is depends on the individual atheist.
Hmm.
And so there are a lot of people identified as atheists who would run into spiritual things that they couldn't just explain away, and they would bring me in. And sometimes I would help them explain it away. I would help them reframe what happened. And sometimes it would be, okay, this is part of your reality now. That doesn't necessarily mean there is a whole bearded God in the sky, but you may need to open up to having some neighbors you didn't know you had.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the role I've had that I've realized is that I kind of fall between the cracks professionally and publicly and spiritually because that's where my people are.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
yeah,
And
and
that's where we need to have community.
yeah, and San Francisco's very much was a very much a between the cracks kind of city when I got there
Mhm.
because there was so much stuff, there was so much splintering, the divisiveness in the whole country was very much showing up there. And so there was a group of people standing there going, so where do we go now? Everything's so polarized. Where do we go where you don't have to pick a side?
Mhm.
So I made a place.
Yeah. I mean, I think you had actually said it this morning. We were talking about on the, we have a demon and an angel on the opposite sides, but we have a thing that ties us together in the Fae,
Yeah,
you
for both
know.
of us the way we work. Yeah,
Yeah, and there are those connections to be had for other people as well.
yeah,
I might not know what connects me to a person initially, but I
hmm
I know that feeling. I recognize that energy.
yeah. And for me, it's
Excuse me.
for me. I think it's a little more rare, just because for a lot of reasons. But it's also I think it's because I'm the beacon and people find me.
Hmm.
I put out the light, stand back, and see who shows up, or the flare, or the fire that needs to be put out. But you get the idea.
You
Or
could be the
occasionally
bat
the flamethrower.
signal.
Hmm?
You could be the bat signal.
Yeah, well, there's that. So apparently this is kind of a Bueller net because I'm not seeing any questions from folks as of
I
yet.
am not seeing. Wait, wait, wait. Haha, we have someone. Hey, where are my comments? Why is it
Yeah,
not showing me this comment?
yeah, I'm not seeing it in my stuff. So
Hold on. Oh, that's why. Give me two shakes of a second here. Ha ha ha. Let me jump back into this. That is why I'm not seeing it. Hold on. Edit privacy. I don't know why it constantly does this. I always put it to public. And for whatever reason, it's not showing it. But all right. So Andrew, who is a friend of mine from high school, regarding good versus evil and laws versus neutral, I've seen that it's about who you do it for, not about the action. If acting selfishly, it's evil. For example, not being violent, but then not helping people, that could be evil. But by cutting a bitch, as you said, but doing it to help someone is still considered good. Neutral means you decide on a case by case basis how you look out for yourself or others. Same with lawful or chaotic. Always follow the laws. Chaotic is to always go against the law. I probably agree with most of that, except for chaotic is always to go against the law. It's not, I don't believe being chaotic is necessarily going against the law. Sometimes you do, though, need to go against the law to protect the greater good.
okay, so Andrew, I'm getting the sense that you're explaining this from a Dungeons and Dragons perspective, which is where those alignments come from. Excuse me, Nora, out, out. Sorry, my dog is being a bitch because she is one. So, but from the day, and I see what you're saying. From the day-to-day magical reality perspective, and obviously, this is an interesting, you know, it's kind of a meta debate of morality is what is and isn't moral. And so, and Nikki and I were framing these kind of jokingly. Is, for example, we say that I'm just true neutral at some points because outside of the D&D perspective, it is a thing where we aren't serving any particular being. We aren't, I don't believe for a minute being a Christian is enough to make you a good enough person to get into any kind of heaven. If you're still an asshole, if you're still mistreating people, if you're still Karening on people just trying to enjoy their own damn barbecue, I don't care how much money you put in the offering plate or how much time you spend praying. Your ass is still going somewhere where it's going to be either burnt or forced to sit and listen to the manager,
Mhm.
who will be a very angry person of a different color than you. um, but in terms of our day to day, again, this was the old school witchcraft thing. Is witches were scary because they didn't serve a master. That was what made witches so scary, especially given how much a lot of monotheist religions are all about domination and control,
Mhm.
and not in the fun ways at all. So for us, when we talk about that, it is more of the, it is kind of making a joke about the entities that we work with that are commonly, I work with ones that are commonly perceived as good.
Mhm.
And Nikki works with ones that may be perceived as evil, depending on how informed you are. And I think we've been slowly kind of, me more so, more so just because I'm willing to deal with my allergies. I am more likely to drift into the ones that are perceived as bad and actually get to know them.
So there are
And
a couple that I like.
there's a
Fully used.
couple. hmm Um, but yeah, I could.
But here, I just have to jump in with this. Is that,
Mhm.
yes, angels are very moral, but those moralities don't necessarily mean that the actions are good.
And they're not nearly as moral as they were reputed to be.
Yeah.
They can practice from a place of total non-judgment, and I would rather have a demon on my ass than an angel on my ass.
Yeah, but the
And
angels are going to be like, well, this is how it's supposed to be done, and they're not going to deviate from that for the most part. It
no,
doesn't matter if that action is good or bad. This is how it's supposed to be done.
if you give them room to be creative, they will be creative, and you will fucking regret it. Because it really puts a whole new meaning on getting biblical on someone's ass. Like, I am way more scared of a wrathful angel than I will be of the most ferocious demon. Um,
We don't know how we feel about that. That's coming from the room.
it's because I respect demons' ability to reason in the moment a lot more. I consider them more sentient in some ways, and I'm not just kissing ass. I don't blow smoke up anyone's ass,
No, 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 no,
even
no.
with a handful of sulfur.
No,
um,
we're mulling that over.
yeah, it is. It is simply that I find demons more reasonable.
Yeah, no, I call you out on that bullshit if I ever thought you were even slightly inclined to do
Yeah,
that, which I know that you are not.
yeah.
Um, I just do find that the blind eye that they turn in some situations is
Mm.
absolutely unacceptable.
Yeah, I'm starting to learn more about why that is, and I'm giving them a little room, but not as much. Tend to be
A
about
lot of
no free will versus free will, right? Because there is a common mythos that angels don't have free will, and demons do. Angels have some free will in my experience, but not a lot. And the problem is that angels are frequently subjugated to human free will,
mhm,
and they get a little resentful.
mhm.
And we are only talking about within a Western Goetic and I can't remember the word, the Shemhaforish angel. We're talking about a very limited body. Like, if I encounter a Buddhist demon, I don't know what I'm going to say.
Yeah,
If I came across a Watcher, a Sumerian angel, I have no idea what I'm going to say. It's a different game. It's a different situation, different rules that I don't know.
yeah, that's
Like, we just know one specific set culture that we have reframed into our culture. And
mhm.
very possibly it's like the whole thing. Remember the old mimeographs where if you recopied them too many times, they degrade?
Yes.
And that's kind of the information we're working from.
Well, it's like telephone. Do you
Yeah.
ever play that game Telephone as a kid?
Oh, yeah. And it always ended bizarrely.
Badly. That's why I don't really hold much stock in the Bible because yes, maybe there was a higher power that dictated what was supposed to be in there, but it's been redone so many years for so long that I think that it's a giant game of telephone. How do I know that what's in there today is what was originally told to people? I mean, even the church admits that they have just kept what worked for them and kind of put away what didn't.
Yeah. Well, and I fully believe there was some manipulative rewriting.
Mhm.
It's
Funnily though, we talk about the demons that are outside of our experience, and you mentioned the Watchers. Uh,
Mhm.
I go down these rabbit holes, And I have recently gone through some more rabbit holes through that, not extensively,
Hmm.
but just, I'm always, I look up Demon Fae half breed a lot, but and that takes me down a whole nother rabbit hole. Um, and I've got reasons, but um, yeah, so I am slowly, not extensively, but I find myself going down rabbit holes, and if it continues on more than a day, I feel like there's a reason I'm traveling down that rabbit hole, and eventually somewhere on our path, you and I will pick that back up because it's going to be important information when we get to that point. But
Hmm.
honestly, sometimes it's years in the making before it makes sense.
Yeah, I think at this point the only thing I don't seriously believe is that there are like that any of our world leaders are lizard people and we don't know. Like
Yeah,
that's the one thing. Like they can be sociopaths without being lizards. I think that's fine. I
yeah.
mean,
Why give the lizard people a bad name?
yeah, I mean, they're just cold-blooded.
Well,
So
let it be.
yeah, it's like a Buffy thing. As far as I know, leprechauns don't exist. But there's a whole just wait attached to that.
I'm like, just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means that it doesn't exist in my reality.
Yeah, but if the universe is ever expanding, that means our realities are connected to the universe, so they're ever expanding too.
And theoretically, they can prove that other dimensions exist. Science is now getting to that point. Now they haven't done it in actuality, but theoretically they can prove that other dimensions exist.
That's fantastic. This place needs so much more storage. Sorry.
Yeah. So there's those lines. I don't want to say that we cross, but we definitely straddle the lines between good and evil. I think the reason that Diana calls me lawful evil is because I do work with demons. I'm not gonna candy coat that at all. But it's not, I'm not hearing voices in my head that tell me to drink the Clorox or, sit up on top of a 7-Eleven with a sniper rifle, um, a lot of times they're like, oh, anarchy would be fun because, it would, but it gets boring after a while.
Yeah.
But I also, like if it says no right turn on red, I'm going to sit there until the light turns green.
And I will totally turn anyway if no car's coming.
Yeah, so
like I will assess my impact, but I'm not just going to obey the law to obey the law.
yeah.
And I think that Andrew is kind of on a similar track with what we were saying is we've been taught a lot of things are good and evil just because it's either what the popular religion has decided is right or not, with very little discernment into things like actual impact on other human beings, whether or not that is genuinely fair. We already know that the law is the law, but it is not inherently moral. There can be immoral laws. Nora out.
I think she just wants to be on the cast with us.
She's mad because I'm wearing new clothes and I wouldn't let her take me into the bitter cold to show me off to her squirrel friend.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So she's pouting, and Dad is in the other room with the 3D printer.
Nice.
So all of the humans are misbehaving.
Well, I think that with laws, yes, there needs to be evolution, which is slow for laws and the legal system. But when it comes to how we define things, back when this country first started, they defined a certain class of people as not really humans, as second-class citizens. And that was how people were defined. We know now that that's wrong.
Although I had my own status as a human being re-rated when I was 8 years old because of certain laws in the state of Indiana. I wasn't considered a full human being by Indiana law.
Do we consider you a full? Oh, no, never mind. I'm just being an asshole.
Other reasons now.
I get it, but it's things that are just because something is what the general populace believes does not mean that it's the good thing or the right thing. And, we are slowly seeing that. And, we see what happens. And I hate to jump into politics, but we see what happens when you have two dynamic sides and there's no middle ground.
Yep.
Look at where our country sits today. There are those of us that believe that every single person is important, no matter how they view themselves, how they feel about themselves inside, and how they look on the outside, who they feel they really are, or, their skin color or their cultural background. Every person is important. There are other people that don't necessarily follow that belief, or they are complacent in following people that don't believe that those people are worth much.
And for me, it's late enough that I don't have the energy to tear that one apart, although I do have a lot of tearing apart to do. Not like I agree with what you're saying. And it's just how people got there.
Yeah. And there's a lot of reasons why people are where they are. And I am not necessarily great at cutting people a little slack by trying to understand their side, because I admire the people that can. I am not in that place, but we know that thinking is wrong. So defining things like angels and demons, running back to that, as absolute good and absolute evil is incomplete thinking. So we are in the business, maybe not the business, but we are in the practice of evolutionizing how people think.
Yes.
About entities.
And for me, I look at things more as good or evil should be defined as who is impacted by your actions and why, and how much care you put into that. Like, it's really how you treat people altogether matters far more than who you're praying to. And honestly, you choose who you pray to. If you're going to exercise free will, exercise the understanding of how even that can impact people.
Yeah. And honestly, if you really think about it, I believe that entities such as deities interact with us in the way that we believe they're going to interact. I knew a person.
Nora, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Excuse me. I have a dog who's being an asshole. I will be right back.
All right. We're gonna mute Diana until she comes back, so we don't have to hear her yelling at poor Nora. But I knew someone not too long ago that worked with Norse deities, and they absolutely believed that their deities were jealous gods and that they had to do something a specific way, or those deities would not, would not be okay with them and they would be punished. Now, I've worked with those deities and I've never found them to be that way, because I don't expect them to be that way. And if that's your experience and that's your belief system, then that's one thing. But you have to understand that that's not everyone's experience. I don't know if you caught any of that at all.
I did. I'll be right back. I have an opportunity to close the bedroom door.
Okay. We're gonna let her go do that. Andrew, I want to say thank you so much for your comments, because that what you've put out there is, it's definitely something that I wish that more people would think about.
Thank you. That actually gave us a really good track. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I have a medical appointment tomorrow. Yes. And a bratty ass dog. So
yeah, we've been about an hour. We were going for that. Yeah. Right now we do. Hopefully, if people watch this later and want to comment and you have questions, definitely do that. If there's enough, I can't think of the word, wish for it or desire for it, we can do another Q&A. I'm not sure if us maybe moving to earlier in the evening, but we try to do after 9 o'clock because we are not rated for children.
Yes, very much not so, because I have a potty mouth and my kids are learning new words because of me. So thank you again. If you happen to be watching this later on your own time, Still feel free to ask any questions. We will come back and answer them. We are pretty active about keeping an eye on this stuff, and we would love to discuss it with you. So, or questions about Golden Apple Metaphysical, what we carry, why, or even about the Emperor Norton Magical Folk Social. We would love to hear from you, and thank you again so much for tuning in. We really appreciate that you take the time to watch what we're putting out there.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you log out. I'm gonna plug what we have upcoming for Emperor Norton.
Okay. All right.
And I might plug someone's new book that's coming out.
Would you like me to plug that? Also, yeah, Cynthia's asking me to hang on for 5 minutes because the 3D printer thing is actually is a prototype. It is not the final,
Okay.
but it's a prototype of something that we were working on for the shop. So you can kind of get the idea of what we're working with from home now. So
okay. We'll plug the book, and then I will plug what's upcoming for Golden Apple. I mean,
yeah, so
Golden
all right.
Apple and Emperor Norton.
So I'm going to start with, if you want a book by me right now, please go ahead and buy Urban Magic, A Guide for the City Witch. And this is a great time to start working with that energy, especially since there's a lot of cities that need repair from all of the stress of the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a book that I wrote as a subvert guide to rewriting power structures by helping you find what you have at home that you have access to. And I do want to say, because one of the things that came up in Biden's speech today is that there's a lot of people who see the social divides as the urban versus the rural. And I really hope people get over that, because I promise you, if you go to a farm or to a major city, most of the time neither one is actually the Thunderdome. So I encourage you to go visit the opposite so you can find this out for yourself. Now, from there, I have a new book coming out titled Hex Twisting Counter Magic Spells for the Irritated Witch. It takes protection magic up to a slightly different level from what's already out there. And it is very much rooted in a lot of folk magic, and Nikki was there for the development of a lot of these spells. And
Peg.
Yes. And so, again, because I'm working from outside of tradition and just working with kind of what I figured out works, this book will be out this fall. I don't have an official date yet, and I don't have the pre-orders yet, but please keep an eye out for it. I will be putting together a curriculum for teaching some of this magic through Golden Apple towards the end of the year or towards the beginning of next year. So keep following us and keep an eye out, because I am really looking forward to seeing this one come out.
Diana, is there a link for a mailing list for your website, or would you like them to subscribe on Golden Apple and we can get them updated through there?
I indeed have a link for a mailing list. I just need to pull that up.
Maybe put it in the comments in the chat.
I'm going to do that now. It helps if I remember my own link. And come on. So I just discovered the wonder of Linktree, but I'm still getting used to it. So there it is. Here we go. It even has a lovely subscribe page that now needs to be updated with the new book cover. But I am going to post over in, okay, it looks like you can't post in the comments thing here. So I'm going to post
it in our comments for the, can you post it on our private chat here? Oh, there we go. Okay, let me copy this, and then I will put it in the copy link address. I'm going to do it in 2 places here. Let's go to banners. Banner, we're not going to do a ticker. Paste. And there we go. Can I show it? Well, let's add this banner. And then we're going to show it.
Yay! I know it's not fancy, but you can click that link, or we'll put it over on the Golden Apple Metaphysical page and the YouTube page. I think we're allowed to do that on YouTube. So you can click and subscribe to the mailing list to get the announcement when Hex Twisting comes out. Mm-hmm. And you will, one more thing I'd like to plug, and then starting next week, I am teaching a 4-week candle magic class through Elements. Will be via Zoom. So wherever you are in the country, it will be accessible. And so
that first class event on the, I know you'd posted about the candle magic in our private group, but do you have it on the Golden Apple page?
I think I do. If not, I can make sure it gets on there by tomorrow.
Perfect.
All right. Oh, do you have it, Cynthia? Yeah. Okay. So Cynthia wanted to show you this before I logged off. Well, I wanted to show too. So this is the first prototype because we can't quite get to Victorian teacup yet. Let's see. But so this is the thing where you shine a light through it. Here, there we go. Like that. So you can kind of help me out with this. Okay. So you can kind of see so if I put an LED candle in there or something, but
yeah, if there's enough light, it'll.
Okay, I don't know if you can see what it's saying.
Yeah, it says Golden Apple Metaphysical if you can't see that yet. That's actually really cool. I kind of did the Holy Grail looking thing here.
Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you.
And if my life explodes into a Monty Python skit, then I will know who will be responsible for it.
Vampire bunnies, what?
No, at least I know we can cook them here. So,
all right. Thanks, Diana. Go get some rest. I know you have a long day tomorrow. I'm going to just stay on for a few minutes and plug. That's what I do.
All right. Good night.
Night. Thanks everybody who has hung out with us up to this point. I see I have 2 viewers on somewhere. One of the fun things I like about being business partners with Diana and a part of Golden Apple is I'm learning more about my creative side. So I have developed some of the products in the Golden Apple line. I developed the spell kits, the spell pouches. I have some of the bath salts that I've developed. I'm currently working on a line of candles. We may have a future coming up where we do a customized candle service. So it'll be a fairly inexpensive service where you get a customized candle for your needs. You get a reading with me and I create a candle for you from that. But just plugging some things that we have coming up a little bit more recently. If you have not joined the Emperor Norton group yet, and you are interested, it is a group for magical people. It started out being San Francisco, but as we've been in the pandemic state and are doing the distancing, we've been on Zoom. So we've had the opportunity for a lot more people to come in and join the group and join the meetings. Excuse me. When we come back from pandemic, we may just, we may keep it Zoom meetings, who knows, or we may find a way to plug in to an actual meeting so people that are not in the area can zoom into that as well. So our group, I'm going to type it in the chat here. Whoops. It is the Emperor Norton. Oh, we totally forgot to talk about why it is called Emperor Norton. It is the Emperor Norton Magical Peoples. Oops, magical. See, typing and trying to do this thing is not easy. Magical People Social of San Francisco. And I spelled San Francisco wrong because that's what I do sometimes. I just mix up the letters. I'm going to add this banner and pop it here. You can find this group on Facebook. You can also find us through meetup.com. When we have the events, I post them both in our online group, and I've been posting them on the Golden Apple page. I also post an event in meetup.com. This group is great. If you are anywhere magically inclined, or if you have questions, want to come and learn from people, we are absolutely open to you being there. But the main thing is, the way I put it is, don't be a dick. Diana is a lot nicer than I am. And she just says, be kind and respectful to each other and come in with an open mind, because the chances are you are not going to meet a group of people that believe exactly what you believe. In fact, I guarantee that you won't. But what you will come and find is a group of people that are welcoming, people that are honest about their beliefs and are willing to share. They're willing to listen and learn. If you come in with the attitude that your path is better than everyone else's, we might not get along so well, because everybody's going to have a different experience. We are all special in our own ways. Some days I'm a little bit more special than others. Depending on my level of caffeine, I may be quite the goofball and completely unhelpful to any of our proceedings. But this group is really fun. I think I learn something every time we have a meetup. So starting, I believe it's February 3rd is our next meeting. I will post that event on the Golden Apple Facebook page. And then we have some in February and March, we have it's like a tarot Tuesday, but it's a tarot social hour. So if you're interested in the tarot at all, then come down, and Jennifer Martinez will be leading those Zooms, and you can discuss different reading styles. You can share tips. You can talk about deck preferences. We have some really cool decks out there. I myself prefer it's the Green Witch tarot set. Pardon me. I'm not big on the reading, so you will not see me at that particular meetup, but I definitely will be at the monthly meeting for Emperor Norton. So take a look, check us out. Like I said, you can find us on meetup.com for Emperor Norton. You can also find us on the Facebook. The Facebook is a private group. For both the Facebook and the meetup.com. If you apply to join the group, there will be questions. If you do not answer the questions, I will try to send you a message to remind you. But if the questions remain unanswered, then I probably will just boot you from there. It's really a safeguard for us to make sure that the people that are coming into the group are going to be great for the group dynamic. Those are the two things coming up for Golden Apple. As Diana said, she will be teaching a course soon. We hope to have a curriculum up for the shop itself for Golden Apple. I want to say it's going to be later this year, if not early next year. I'm trying to think if we have anything else kind of cool or fun going on. As you see, Cindy's been working with the 3D printer, so we're excited to see what's going to come out of that. So you will hopefully be seeing some cool stuff from us very soon. But let's see if there are any. No new comments. I still have a couple people watching. I appreciate you for hanging out with us so far. As you can see behind me on this side, because I always forget it's mixed around. You can see I have my my little workshop shelving there. It's got quite a few of the things that I use to make the candles that I use for people, or I have the prototypes for the spell boxes behind me as well. I guess that's it for tonight. I want to thank Andy for commenting in there. I'm just going to put that out there, Andrew. If you want to continue this conversation, we can continue it on this chat, or you have me on your Facebook, so we can continue it in the private chat as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and maybe we'll see if you'd be so inclined to join the group as well. I think it would be fun. Anyway, thanks for joining us tonight. Stay safe. Be good to each other. Be good to yourself. We have a little bit more hope now. If you are happy about Inauguration Day here, I feel very hopeful. It's still a long road ahead, and there's a lot of work ahead. But the plan works when we all work together. That's all from me. I'm Nikki Jobin, co-owner of Golden Apple Metaphysical. Diana Rachel, who is my much esteemed partner, she's a gem. She's left us for the evening, but I'm gonna head out myself now. So have a good night, and hopefully we'll hear from you soon. Take care.